Welcome to the Hey Soul Sista podcast, where Mel Histon will guide you through life's big questions and bring you one step closer to doing this crazy journey as best you can.
Hey Soul Sisters, today we are getting soulful and really spiritual, talking about one of my favourite topics, how to connect with your spirit guides. Now I know that maybe not everybody knows a lot about spirit guides or may not be into spirit guides, but I totally am. I listen to lots of YouTube clips about how I can connect to my spirit guides and have had some pretty cool and spooky experiences since I kind of went down that whole path a few years ago. So today I have fabulous psychic to the stars, Rebecca Gibson.
Hello.
Beck's here. Now Beck is all over the spirit guides. We're going to totally talk about that. And we also have Spirit Guide Virgin.
Yes, Spirit Guide Virgin.
Has Amos here today.
Yeah, I'm the newbie on the crew today. I'm fresh.
You're fresh meat.
Before when she said that and she said I was laughing at her evil. This is not evil. I just
Yeah.
think it's fun when people ask me questions from that place because I deal with this all the time. So then I talk about it from an advanced level and people will be like, what is this chick banging on about? So I like when people don't know anything and so then they ask me questions from that place.
Beginner's level.
Yeah.
Yeah, introduction.
Yeah, and it's hard to start communicating without all the jargon and stuff once
So-
you've been in the field for a while.
Yeah. So this is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no matter who you are, where you come from, or what your life looks like, you have spirit guides sending you helpful messages. So today we're going to talk about the different types of guides, how we can open ourselves up to their wisdom and communication, and what do we do if maybe we feel like we're not really connecting how we would like to.
Okay, well, fire the questions away at me so I can wrap my head around my languaging.
Okay. Well, you know what, Beck? Why don't you share about how it was that you actually came to be like a psychic medium, that you first learnt about or connected with your spirit guides?
Okay, well, always since I was little. So I've never kind of grown out of it. I've shut it down a lot, but I've never kind of grown out of it. But then because I went into psychiatry, so it's been 26 years, my egoic brain has been very influenced by this system of psychiatry saying that it's mad. And so for me, when I first remember seeing guides, the first memory was during abuse. And so psychiatry would say that's dissociation. So I am my own skeptic. I'm like one of these psychics who has very healthy skeptical stuff. So I'm like, oh, was that a guide? Was that just me? So I understand all of that.
So do you mind, if you don't mind sharing, so what do you mean by that? You were experiencing abuse and you...
As a child. And so my guides would come to me and they would say to me, you need to stay awake. You soul contracted this. And so this will form part of your life later when you're an adult. And so for me, that was very comforting. Then I would like try and cut out these experiences with spirit guides, but then I started learning spirit guides change. Everything's different. There's so many different ways of looking at it. And this is completely faith-based too. So there's not a lot of science around saying that spirit guides actually exist, but there's not a lot of science around other religions either. And so I'm such a lover of science plus spirituality. So if anyone's listening to this, this is faith-based. This is something that you just have an unwavering knowing that I have spirit guides and that there are ways to connect, and that if you don't believe it and you do have a little healthy skepticism and you do want to try it out, there are exercises that you can do for you to start getting validation from the spirit side that yes, I am being guided. And it's very comforting for people once they start to get into this belief.
Yeah.
I already have my first question. What is a soul contract?
Okay, we are souls, higher consciousness that never die. We're constantly experiencing life, transforming, ever changing. This human experience is just a blip, but your consciousness, your soul will continue having other experiences. And so when you come here to have this earthly experience, you come with, these are the things that you're going to experience. You don't remember when you get here until you start going through them. But these are contracts that you've decided that you want to fulfill. These are lessons that you want to fulfill. These are things that you want to pay back, like karma or things like that. And so you then go through your human life trying to remember all of those and fulfilling those contracts.
Is it so you can learn, so you can live better and have a better experience?
You expand.
Yeah?
Yeah, you become an expansive, more intelligent, connected in soulful being.
Want to fill your soul with more? Go to thesistercode.com.
It's really interesting. Years ago, I saw on Oprah Dr. Brian Weiss, who wrote the book Many Lives, Many Masters, and he was the guy, I guess, he wouldn't say he discovered it, but he certainly wrote that book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and around when he was treating a patient back in the 80s. Her name was Catherine, and she was living with a whole heap of anxieties and phobias that she actually was quite dysfunctional as a person. Like, she had to sleep in a cupboard at night. She had all these phobias and stuff around water and choking and what have you. And he started treating her as a psychiatrist. So he was the head psychiatrist. I think it was at Miami University Hospital. He was a highly accomplished doctor and a Jewish man, funnily enough, and actually didn't believe in anything. He was a man of science, did not believe in spirit gods, soul, other realms, the spiritual realm or anything like that. So he started treating this woman and started using hypnotherapy on her. And he made tapes of all the sessions. And I think it was maybe in I don't know if it was the first session, may have been first or second, but she started describing past lives where she had died, and he could actually attribute the phobias that she had now in the ways that she had died in previous lives. And the more that they did this therapy, her phobias cleared up, they disappeared. And then while they were having sessions, she started channeling what they called themselves, the masters. So he's got all these tapes, and he actually played them on Oprah.
I remember the episode, and I had the book.
Yes.
Because I was so interested in regression therapy.
Yeah.
That then grew from that experience in that book.
And I love that he has the tapes. So he played the tapes and you could hear this woman talking. But the masters talked actually about your soul being born into different lives. And it actually said that the in-between state, which is between lives, that you're in this other dimension, heaven, I don't know, you call it whatever you like, but then you actually get reborn. And before you do that, it's like, okay, these are the lessons, like you're saying, the soul contract. This is actually, you're coming and having a human experience, and because your soul is learning life lessons. And it's like they say, and I know that it can be difficult to get your head around, but they say, you choose your parents.
You do, yeah.
You choose the parents you're going to be born to, because actually they will teach you things, that whole experience. Louise Hay wrote a lot about that.
Dolores Cannon has got countless of books of the transcripts that have come through for people that she's put under hypnosis that have gone into their higher consciousness, speaking back. So that's the hypnosis that I do, is the quantum healing hypnotherapy, and I've done it even on my husband, who's the biggest skeptic ever around this sort of thing, talking about guides, who's guiding them, soul families, what kind of consciousness that you're calling in. There's also a neurosurgeon, his name's Eben Alexander, and he wrote Proof of Heaven. And so I love it when it's coming from people like that. So that would have been one of his soul contracts. You need to develop this very rare form of meningitis. It's going to affect this part of your brain, and you need to be the one to start telling people that this is reality. This is where our consciousness goes. This isn't dreaming. This isn't something that we're just making up with our imagination. This is actual energy and consciousness. And so it's becoming more and more acceptable within the scientific field, and especially amongst mental health practitioners, psychiatrists, talking about consciousness, talking about different kinds of therapies that you can use, and that spiritual health is super important for us to be holistically healthy beings. And that contacting your spirit guides is one of the most comforting things that people can do for themselves, especially when they're going through hardship or they're processing trauma or something, to be able to know that you're supported from higher frequency beings and you're not just doing this alone, and that there is life after this life.
For those of you that are listening, if you get a chance to read Eben Alexander's book, Proof of Heaven, so it's amazing. It's a really easy read, really well written, but he was a neurosurgeon. So he was like the total doctor scientist, medical person. He did not believe.
He was not the Dr. Death kind of neurosurgeon.
No.
He was actually
He was
very good. Well, he is a very good neurosurgeon, very well respected, very educated and very experienced.
Absolutely. And he did not believe in near-death experiences. He actually talks about how he'd had a couple of clients of patients who had died and claimed they'd had near-death experiences, and he did not believe in that. And then he bizarrely contracted this bacterial meningitis, which they cannot actually trace to how he got it. They cannot understand how he got it. But he was brain dead state for 7 days. Was it 7 days?
I can't remember how long it was, but he was in an induced coma for a long period of time, and the particular area of the brain that was being attacked by the bacterial meningitis is the part that dreams. And because that part was completely inactive, that they were saying there's no way that you could have been dreaming. But he said that when he went to heaven, he calls it heaven, and he met his guides and stuff, that there was a woman there who said that she was his sister, and she gave him all of this information. And then when he spontaneously woke up out of this coma, where
because they were going to turn the life support off,
they were expecting him to die.
Yeah.
And so he spontaneously woke up and he told everybody, and then he mentioned to his family, who's this person? She says she's my sister, and then they had to divulge to him,
because he was adopted.
Yeah, he didn't know. I don't know whether he was adopted or she died earlier.
He was adopted, and say she was the biological sister.
Yeah, and so that was enough proof of him to realise that what had happened, and the people that he'd met when he was in this coma, that there is proof of what he calls heaven, and that there are spirit guides, and that there is this whole other realms of different consciousness guiding us.
Let's get soulful on social media. Search the Sister Code Facebook page and follow us on Instagram.
Okay, Kaz, question.
What is the difference between, say, your knowing and your spirit guide, and how do you know the difference? Double-barreled.
Well, your knowing is your intuition, and then you just start to tune in your intuition more. So for me, I'm using guides to help bring information through, but I'm also exercising my knowing, my senses, heightening them with increased frequency. So it's a bit of both. Because you're getting messages and signs during the day. The more you start to raise your frequency by doing things like meditation, mindfulness, colouring in, exercising your right brain instead of constantly using your left brain, doing all these different things, then you'll start noticing synchronicities, signs. You'll start noticing what's called angel numbers. You'll 1111 everywhere, or there'll be
I always get that. It's always
triple
11,
and quadruple numbers. Well, that's normally the sign that people are starting to wake up, and your guides are able to get through to you more, because it's our ego's white noise stops us from hearing what's happening from outside of our 3D senses.
That other voice that steps in and says, oh no, that can't be right, or are you sure?
Yeah.
What will people think?
Yeah.
All that, yes.
So I did a bit of research, and I read up that there are actually 6 types of spirit
there's more
guides.
than that.
Okay, so I'll run through the 6 that I read about. So one was your archangels.
Yep.
Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Metatron.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah. So there's a few archangels, and there's the arche, the feminine side, so the divine female of archangels, and then you've got different forms, different tiers of angels, guardian angels, and you've got passed over loved ones, ascended masters, other beings. So people will be talking about star systems like Palladians, Illyrians, or Andromedans, or Draconians. There are guides from everywhere. Your soul family, your soul itself could be your guide.
Yeah.
It just...
Your higher self.
Yeah, your higher self.
Yeah. So I have found, and I am no expert whatsoever, but I have been really, over the years, every now and then, when I say every now and then, because I actually go, I'm trying to connect with my spirit guides. And I keep wanting to hear a voice.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to hear a voice.
Question. I asked it because I thought, from an audience and beginner's perspective, does it sound like a voice?
So I'll tell you about some of the funny experiences that I've had. Okay, so first of all, one day I actually was lying in bed and I was relaxing, doing some deep breathing, and I was like going, okay, guardian angel. I watch a lot of Lorna Byrne on YouTube, and she says that she's been able to see guardian angels and angels since she was a child. And so I'm like, okay, guardian angel, what's your name? Because apparently that's something that you should do. Ask your guardian angel what their name is. Now, Lorna says that the angels are actually not human. They're not passed on, people who've died.
And Sandalphon.
Oh, okay, yeah. But apparently they're God's beings. They're not actually human at all. But they like to come across with human features so that they are relatable to us. So I was lying in bed one morning and I was like, okay, guardian angel, what's your name? And the name Sarah popped in my head. And I was like, really? Your name's Sarah? I'm like, oh. And then I was like, okay, well, apparently that's what they do. But I was talking to my friend AJ, who's been on the podcast a few times, and she said that she has, done meditations and things and tried to connect with her spirit guides. And she's actually heard a male voice who calls himself Eric. But you know what? And those times, I've had other spooky experiences where I've been sitting on the end of my bed and I've been really distraught about something and feeling really down and actually asking universe, God, source, angels, whoever, for help and guidance. And literally seen all of a sudden the sun come shining through the trees and shining on me on the end of my bed, and looking over and seeing a card on the floor and reading that card, and it was a perfect message for that moment. I've had, little spooky things like that happen. The other day I was like going, okay, spirit guides, okay, guardian angel, so you're there? Okay, give me a sign that you're there. And then I went for a walk with my girlfriend Anita Nelms. We walk outside and she goes, you've got a white feather that's floating above your head as you're walking along.
Wow.
That's an excellent sign.
I know. And I was like, is that you, guardian angel?
Sarah?
Is that Sarah?
But they change all the time. They change. The more you change, the more your frequency raises, the more you're learning lessons, you'll get different guides depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
So I've had people under hypnosis where I've spoken to their guides, and it's kind of like I've run an insurance call center. I was like, can you, while the client's been under hypnosis, and so it's recorded, and you get the client, like the guide to speak through the client. So it's easier for the client to then take on board there's something legit in this, because it's not coming from the hypnotherapist, it's coming from them themselves whilst they're under hypnosis. And it'll say, I'm just looking up those records now. Yes, just downloading those records now. It says here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, have I just rung a call center? What's happening?
Yeah.
Want to save your soul? Review us on Apple Podcast.
So let's talk about what are some common ways that your spirit guides may be communicating with you that maybe you don't realise.
Numbers for sure. That's that 1111 tends to be the most common thing that people start to see. Feathers is a really common one.
I've heard white feathers.
Yeah. Signs, like literal signs. You can be asking for guidance for something and you'll be driving along and you'll see a sign. Words will start to pop out at you. And I say all this as someone who works in psychiatry because this is all called magical thinking. There's diagnoses for this, but this is what happens. You will start to see signs. Songs definitely are a really big one. For me now, because I'm working with this energy every day, my phone will start to open up onto random things. Like I won't touch my phone. Next minute, something will start playing on YouTube, or a news article will open up, or somebody that I need to speak to's profile will open up on my phone because it's easier for them to use electricity. But even random people just coming up to you and saying something so bizarre and weird and you're like, what was that about, can be them communicating to you through somebody else.
Do you know what? I think that there's more to be done here. I think we need to do another episode to kind of delve even more into this. And I think it's so juicy, and I can see Kaz the Virgin is Soul Spirit Guide Virgin is.
Well, I think maybe I've been a little bit more in tune than I expected to know.
Exactly. I love it. Okay, Beck, sorry,
RebeccaGibson.com.au, or you can find me at Facebook and Instagram, Rebecca Gibson, psychic medium, spiritual strategist.
And Kaz, if people want to know and find you, how can they do that?
Easy peasy, KazAmos.com.au.
Thank you so much for listening, Soul Sisters. Part 2 will be coming to you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Hey Soul Sista with Mel Histon. What would help you on your crazy life journey? Email Melissa at thesistercode.com.